It's time!
You're listening to the K-Station TV Prizefight Podcast. Coming to you from the Coastal Cameron Studios in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Are you ready?
Here's your host, the Big Fellah, Albert Cameron.
Let's get it on!
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for the Prizefight Podcast. Of course, I'm your host, the Big Fellah, Mr. Albert Cameron, Miller, / whatever I want to call myself these days. On the phone with me, one of my best friends on planet Earth, a very important part of K-Nation TV as a whole, Mr. Robert Lynn. Rob, how you doing?
Hey, you're still going to PayPal me that money for doing this, right?
Oh, yeah. 10% more than what I paid Drew and Mike, right? Is that what we agreed on?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Okay. I got Rob on the phone with me today. One, because I really enjoy talking to him. He's a really good friend of mine. But Bellator MMA, which, Rob, I don't know if you agree with me on this one, but I'd say ever since Scott Coker took over, Bellator's been doing some pretty good things.
Well, I guess you could say that. I mean, the whole Shamrock Gracie thing, that was a hoot. I know it's old news, but I've always considered Bellator kind of, the second fiddle, if you want, like the Bush League. But I guess, they have a lot of the old UFC stars over there, and it seems like a whole other topic. But the UFC has gotten themselves into quite a pickle with some negotiations and all that, and sponsorships, and things we could discuss ad nauseum if we won't. So it looks like Bellator is poised to continue to get more talent like they've already done. Phil Davis, Ryan Bader, Fedor, all those good, all those cats over there.
Well, I don't think I've ever made it any real secret that I had a big problem with Bellator. I really thought that they were wasting their platform. And then Bjorn Rebney gets kicked out. Scott Coker comes in, and I'm seeing some really positive stuff. I mean, they're focusing on newer talent, and what we're going to be talking about today is the heavyweight Grand Prix, because I think heavyweight as a division all over the place has really sucked out loud.
Well, this heavyweight tournament has been interesting.
Absolutely.
Especially since the brackets are out there, because you have some heavyweights and you have some not heavyweights, and then you have some really heavyweights.
We have one guy who's not even remotely a heavyweight.
And then you have some guys that are really doughy heavyweights.
Well, I was gonna take a break, Rob. Let's just jump right into it. The first fight announced on the tournament bracket was Chael Sonnen versus Rampage Jackson. Both of them are not even remotely heavyweight.
I'm just going to preface everything I say with the last major MMA main events that I've called them incorrectly, and I used MMA math. And I'll give you just one, for instance. I had Bisping clobbering GSP, and boy, was I wrong.
I had Bisping beating GSP too.
I had Johanna George, all those words and letters and stuff that make sounds. Who I adore. I think she is just a great fighter. I had her winning against Rose, and then here to lose that way. So just prefacing whatever I say with, I've been making some really bad decisions. I got Chael Sonnen destroying Quentin Jackson.
Oh, see, I disagree with you wholeheartedly.
Hey, you're allowed to be wrong. It is America. That is your right.
I think of anyone, in this tournament, for argument's sake, we're going to say Chael Sonnen's a light heavyweight, even though for the majority of his career, the vast majority, he fought at middleweight. But we'll say light heavyweight for argument's sake. Coming up to a 265 weight limit. So, he's immediately at a disadvantage coming into this tournament.
Think so?
Oh, I know so.
Wow. He's not cutting weight. He's not going to have any fatigue of a weight cut. And Rampage has been a little lackadaisical in the way he takes his diet and nutrition. Whether or not he's eating or he's pumping some reporter's leg. He doesn't take. He's a great fighter. He's very talented. Strong. I consider him part of the old guard. I don't think that he is of the world where he's going to make any sort of difference like he used to back in the Pride days, or his resurgent UFC career. But I do feel that he's very good. He's very talented. I just don't see him taking Chael seriously. I see him, taking a payday to pay child support for 600 kids.
Well, here's my thought on it. Rampage Jackson, have his weight cuts been difficult? I can't say that I've ever heard the news of a Rampage weight cut being awful for him.
Well, he's always made weight.
Yeah,
he hasn't had a problem with that, but it's well noted that his nutrition sucks.
Okay.
His cardio is usually dog shit too, so that doesn't help things.
Of the four light heavyweights on this bracket, which consists of Chael Sonnen, Quentin Jackson, Ryan Bader. Oh, I've completely blanked. King Mo. Of those four, Quentin Jackson has the style that most lends himself to a heavyweight tournament. So,
no, you're wrong again.
No, bullshit, I'm wrong.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna remind you of Quentin Jackson versus Ricardo Arona. Do you remember what happened there?
Yeah, that was like 600 years ago.
Okay, well, Chael Sonnen's like 600 years old too, so it's about even. And do you put Chael Sonnen's grappling ability anywhere near Ricardo Arona?
No, I don't have to. I put it above Quint's.
Okay, now do you think Chael Sonnen can match Quentin Jackson as far as explosiveness in his hands goes?
Probably.
Man, you like being wrong.
Think about this. How long has Chael been out of the testing pool?
Well, the last time he fought, he beat Vanderlei, which I think was within the last year.
You see what I'm saying here? He may have had a little bit of time, and he has himself said that you don't feel it when you're on it, but you feel it when you're off it. I would be hard-pressed to believe that a guy, and listen, I like Chael. He's one of my favorite fighters. He's a talker. He's a walker. He'll fight. I mean, you put him out there. And if he gets his rear end handed to him, he says it. He's legit. I don't see him being like a BJJ champion or anything like that, but I see him taking out Quentin. The only way Quentin wins this is lucky punch.
A lucky punch?
Mm-hmm.
How do you see Sonnen beating Jackson?
What's that?
By what method? Like decision, knockout?
I'm sorry, you broke up for a second. Do you mean how do I see Quentin winning? I don't.
How do you see Sonnen beating Jackson? How do you see Chael beating Rampage?
Taking him down every single round and giving him pillow fists until it's over.
Oh, see, I disagree with you entirely. Rampage knows just enough wrestling, and Rampage was an amateur wrestler back in the day, and I think he knows just enough wrestling to nullify Sonnen and keep the fight standing. And I see Jackson. I see him like crushing Sonnen. Maybe not crushing him, but definitely walking away with the win.
Well, I mean, time will tell. But I'm betting Chael stays out of hot water, tires Quentin out, and just rides the decision home.
Let's look at quality of opponents. Chael Sonnen's last 5 fights, he beat Vanderlei Silva, who is not the axe murderer who fought in Pride. He lost to Tito Ortiz. He lost
to... kind of embarrassing.
Oh, okay, so, I think Rampage dropped a loss to Silva. But that was Pride middleweight champion Silva.
No, I'm saying it's embarrassing to lose to Tito.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. But, I mean, like, Tito, former UFC light heavyweight champion.
Yeah, back in the day when
exactly.
4 people knew how to fight.
Exactly. So if Sonnen...
That's sort of like Chuck Liddell being something because, he has power in his hands. He has a head full of rocks that you can hit, and he doesn't like to go down. But realistically, it was a different era. So, I see what you're trying to do here is the prosecution. You're trying to shoot holes in my argument. But if we want to look at quality of opponents, Chael also lost to John Jones.
Yeah.
He's the best, even when he's on a coke bender.
Well, he also...
And he lost to Rashad Evans, I know.
Yeah, well, Rob, you reminded me of something I kind of want to touch upon. I'm still mad at Dan Bogan for that video he shared with all of us. I'm still mad at him. I'm still very upset with him about that. The
gunshot to the groin in Indonesia.
That cup had to had to have destroyed a testicle. I mean,
so here's what we're going to do. We're going to disseminate that video here real quick. It's a brief segue. Okay, so we have fighter one. I don't know his name. And, it starts out with a nice handout shot of this gorgeous cage and this really pretty Asian ring girl.
It was for Road FC in Korea.
We get into the cage. We have little referee who has no chance in hell of separating these two should some serious malady happen and just one of the other guys decide I'm not letting up. So fight starts off, ding, 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 runs out, smack. Now I'm of the mind there was a gunshot in the arena. Something happened. There was a second shooter on the grassy knoll because Patrick said it that he's heard guns that weren't that loud.
Oh.
And then so it goes to this old doctor sets up a little tent and looks at the guy's gonads and I think he's telling the guy you've just been gender reassigned, and you have the other guy, fighter A, who kicked the other guy in the winker. He's over there looking, did I just kill a dude? You look at his face, he's wondering, did I kill another human being? So I think you should link the link to that in the description of this.
Oh, definitely.
So people know what we're talking about. But it's, man, if you got Joel, you're going to be, you're going to get a pea shiver from that.
The scary thing is, if you watch after the gunshot, and that's exactly what we're going to call it. It was a gunshot or a head kick. The guy's trying to pull the cup away from his groin. So I have to think I think the edge of the cup, did a 7-10 split to that guy's one testicle. I think that's exactly what happened.
I think what happens is both that guy's balls got exploded and shoved back up inside him.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
That dude's a girl now.
Yeah, and thank you again, Dan Bogan, for sharing that all with us, you dick.
Dan's awesome.
I loved it. That's not the first time, though, he showed me something testicle-related. That is not the first...
Maybe he's into that.
Well,
so,
we were
back to this here. This how we were discussing how wrong you are. It's look, you can poke holes in the argument all you want. You can bring these facts that Quentin's bigger, he's stronger.
Oh, absolutely.
I actually think that Quentin's win percentage is higher too.
It is.
I don't know the records off the top of my head, but
Sonnen's
29-16-1,
and Jackson is 36-11-0.
Okay, so we're talking about guys that have over 40 fights. And, let's face it, some of Jackson's were against scrubs when he was in Pride.
Oh, yeah.
But, that was the Pride gimmick. But realistically, you got a professional fighter, 40 pro fights, and that's still a pretty damn good ratio. So I see that you're poking holes in my argument, but I'm picking Chael on this one.
Okay, well, I'm going to go on record and disagree with you. I think that Jackson's fought better opponents. He's more fit for the heavyweight style. I think he's got more power to him, and I think actually not having to cut weight to light heavyweight is gonna work out for him in the best. So that's our takes on the first fight. Now, Rob, the second fight I think is the one that caught me off guard the most, and we're talking about Fedor Emelianenko, former Pride heavyweight champion, taking on Frank Mir, former UFC heavyweight champion, in a fight with the guys with, I think their records. Frank Mir has the losingest streak right now of anyone on the bracket. When I say losingest streak, I mean he has 2 losses. Fedor is a close second with the 1 loss to Matt Mitrione. How do you see this fight going?
Frank Mir winning.
Now, see, I disagree again.
Here's okay. I need to fully disclose this. I'm all about Fedor. I'm a big fan of Russia, the whole deal. You know that.
Yeah.
My boy Putin, the judo black belt. Got to have respect for that. But Frank, Frank has looked like shit his last couple fights. Last many, I don't know what adjective you want to use. But there's been times where he's needed to rise to the occasion. Brock Lesnar's leg, Nogueira's arm, Nogueira's head, that he stepped up. And, getting knocked out by a big Mark Hunt, who in the hell wouldn't go down to a shovel hit from him.
Oh, absolutely.
Andrei Arlovsky, I mean, he's a Russian, so he hits hard. That's the well, and Belarus, but whatever the hell you want to call it. But it's all the same. They all, they all hit like trucks.
Yeah.
Okay. And Alistair Overeem, guy who's loaded on steroids, horse meat, but like you look at the Overeem that fought him, that was Ubereem. He looked like goddamn Phil Heath.
Oh, there's a big difference between the Alistair Overeem who fights in North America and the skinny kid who fought in Pride with his brother Valentine. There's a big difference.
Yeah. Well, okay, listen. There's only so much that genetic can do for you. You can only eat so much food and get so big. He did fucking steroids. I mean, you might want to bleep that. He did steroids. So there's no two ways about it. He ate horse meat that was loaded with steroids. He injected steroids. He probably was doing insulin growth factor too. I mean, he was all over the board. So you look at his opponents. Frank Mir fought like pretty good guys, and I was never on the Antonio Silva train. I always thought he was kind of a scrub that made it to the top. Todd Duffy, I mean, he's a big, strong dude too, but just because you're a big heavyweight and can hit hard doesn't mean that you're great. So, okay, you look at the last 5 opponents Frank fought, they're really, I get it, You look at the last 5 that Fedor fought. He fought Matt Mitrione and got dropped. You look at Matt's not physically impressive at all. I mean, he's a big football guy, but
kind of soft.
That was 600 years ago too, You look at Fabio Maldonado, okay? He has a head full of marbles, and he's proved that he can take a beating. So, what record does he have? This other guy, I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Jaideep Singh.
Okay. Yeah, well, who is that scrub?
He fought Fedor at the Ryzen Grand Prix, and I think it was his first fight.
Yeah, okay. Do you know how the fight would look if I fought Fedor for my first pro fight? Come on.
I'd have been crushed.
Then Pedro Hizzo, who hasn't been relevant since, I don't know.
He's right up there with Paulo Filho in my mind. I mean, guys who were great once and could be great again, but just are on the downswing. That's how I feel about Pedro Hizzo and Paulo Filho.
You know why a lot of these guys are still fighting? Money. They need money. There's more money now than there was then.
Absolutely.
And they need some of that. Listen, the Bills don't stop just because you're a retired great. And I mean no disrespect to Pedro. I mean, he was the shit.
Oh, yeah.
He really was. But times have changed, and the Pedro that fought Fedor is not the Pedro that terrorized everyone else he fought. And Aishi hasn't been a factor, hell, I don't think ever. I mean, he was just a good jab they would put in against people because he would fight people, and, sometimes he gets his marbles clobbered and sometimes he doesn't.
When I was looking...
So, you're talking quality of opponents. I don't got Fedor beaten, right? I will say this. Fedor, he has that Russian variable. He hits like a truck.
Yeah.
There's just something about living in that environment that makes you tougher right off the bat.
If you look at the fight between Fedor and Matt Mitrione, both the guys, it was essentially a double flash knockout is what it was. Both guys hit the mat. Mitrione was just quicker to his feet. I mean, it really came down to beating the other man to his feet. I mean, the snapping the legs is really what it came down to. When I see Fedor Emelianenko versus Frank Mir, I see two guys who are great heavyweights, but that the heavyweight division has evolved without them. And
well, here's the great news. They're not fighting the rest of the heavyweight division. They're fighting each other.
And then light heavyweights.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's between those two. Now, okay, say Fedor beats Frank. I think Fedor stands a better chance through the rest of the bracket than Frank does.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to go on record. I'm a fan of Frank, so I'm picking him. That's my guy.
Okay.
Oh. Boy, wouldn't it be great to see Frank and Chael fight?
You mean Frank and Rampage if Frank and were to win?
Nah, Rampage is better.
See, here's how I see this fight going down. Frank Mir's obvious skill is superb grappling, especially for heavyweight. I mean, he essentially nearly took Nog's arm home with him. That's how it almost went down. He almost took that as a trophy. But if you remember whenever Fedor fought Kevin Randleman, Fedor got dropped on his skull and then survived a key lock from hell. It was either a key lock or a Kimura. And then came back to pound it out. I think Fedor is on the upswing from a downswing. And I think Frank Mir has a shot, but I think Fedor has just got the muscle memory that he's gonna get the victory over Mir, but I don't think it's gonna be an easy fought one.
Well, okay. You know, Fedor does have that Russian power, but that if it was a true jiu-jitsu great applying that arm lock on Fedor, it would have went down a lot differently. If that was a Verdun arm lock, if that was Frank Mir arm lock, you know, it would go a little bit different than when a wrestler that's good at submission but not bursting it throws it on you. So I'm going to disagree with you there. I don't see Fedor beating Frank unless, you know what though? Frank might come in all dad-bought it up, but never stepped a foot on the treadmill, and he might just get his quad clean. But here's the thing: Fedor can come in with a dad bod. Doesn't matter. He doesn't care.
I think Fedor has
no emotion. He just comes forward and hits you a lot.
Okay, Rob, let me ask you this. How does Frank Mir compare to Fabrizio Verdum in terms of submission skill?
Oh, Fabrizio's on another plane. I mean, Frank's good.
Yeah.
Frank's a real BJJ black belt. If Frank put a BJJ black belt on you, I would consider you a real black belt.
Okay.
If Fabrizio put a black belt on you, I'd consider you beating Frank's black belts.
Okay.
That's the difference in my mind. I think that Fabrizio Verdum, in my opinion, is probably the best heavyweight grappler in mixed martial arts. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone that truly is better.
We agree that MMA math does not work, but Fabrizio Verdum, first one to beat Fedor Emelianenko, I think it was what, triangle choke?
Yeah, triangle.
Okay, so does Frank Mir possess what Fabrizio Verdum did to get Fedor to submit? Because Fedor, while he has lost, they've all been by knockout. He's only been beaten on the ground once, and that was by Fabrizio Verdum.
For sure Frank does. Because here's the other thing, too. Okay, there's just a point when you get so big that a hit from you knocks someone out. I mean, you get enough heft behind it, it's going to put you on your butt. So Frank may not have true Fedor power. He doesn't have the kind of power that Fedor has in his fist.
Right.
But when you're a 200 and some pound dude and you hit another guy square on the mouth, it sits him down. Example, look at Minotauro, who has legitimately a head full of rocks. Like the dude got hit by a truck, and I think he leg locked the truck. Like if there's anyone on planet Earth that says he's not tough, they're wrong. So you got a guy like him that can take punishment from anyone. Frank put him down. Oh, and here's the other thing too. I'm sure we could agree that he was also a legit BJJ black belt.
Minotauro?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think that's even a question.
What's that?
I don't even think that's a question. And
so I bet, honestly, if Frank gets a hold of something at Fedor's, it's going to break.
Okay, let's look at it this way. Frank Mir was a purple belt when he tapped out. Who did he submit?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I thought purple belt, whatever.
Frank Mir was a purple belt in the early UFCs, right before his title reign, and he tapped out a black belt. The name escapes me. But then Frank Mir goes on to win the heavyweight championship, gets into that horrible motorcycle accident. I don't think Frank Mir has ever been the same after that.
No, he hasn't.
But then
here's the thing, though. I think that motorcycle accident, this is just a sidebar, yeah, it screwed him up. He could have never fought again. He had surgery. He probably has pain. We all have pain. I mean, you get old. People, they don't realize when they look at these fighters, they don't realize that they're human like us and they take an injury like us, and they don't realize, like, okay, so you watch a fight and you see the fighter, for maybe, a half hour, and you think, oh, it's not that bad. You get your ass kicked once, you get a couple grand, couple mil, whatever. Well, they don't realize the long-lasting effects that has on you. And I think that some people don't realize that some of these fighters are 30-some years old, especially, you notice this too, in your light heavyweight divisions, you seem to have older men than you do in the lighter divisions. So all of that aside, okay, I personally think that the motorcycle wreck gets blamed for more than it should. I think that Frank Mir has distractions. I forget what fight it was, but there was a UFC video where they were doing one of the, like, a countdown to whatever. I think it was a countdown. It was either a countdown or a prime time. And it was like, oh, Frank Mir has relocated his training camp to this place here. And then you see his kids, like, running around the mats and shit, and his wife's talking to him and all that. That's not training for a fight. That's hanging out. That's getting comfortable. That's being complacent. That's taking that drive, that world champion drive, and turning it into that, I'm going to go punch the clock today. That's my opinion. I know it's like, listen, I never stepped foot in a ring, so here I am playing Monday morning quarterback or armchair general. I never fought professionally or amateurly. I've only trained, never was good. So here I am watching it, but just my personal opinion that Frank was Frank's worst enemy, not the motorcycle wreck. But,
well, you're pointing out the same thing that whenever Mike Tyson was trying to train for Buster Douglas. He goes over to Japan, he's playing mini golf, he's getting pictures taken with locals, not really serious whatsoever.
Oh, he didn't care about that fight at all, not one bit. And that's another thing we could talk about ad nauseum. It's Mike Tyson, and his rise and fall. But it's the same thing. Basically, he wasn't taking his training to that next level. Anybody, if you have arms and legs that can move, anybody on planet Earth can go to a gym every day and do something. Are you really getting results? Are you really pushing yourself to that next level? That's where it really takes something. It's here you are, you're pushing your body, hey, more weight, more reps, more running, more whatever the goal is, to that point where you're like, okay, here I am. I need to train sparring. I need to train jits. I need to train wrestling, whatever.
Yeah.
You get to this point where are you pushing yourself or are you just punching the clock?
That's a great way to look at it.
I think he was just punching the clock. My opinion, I could be very, very wrong, and when I say this, I'm not saying it to be disrespectful to Frank Mir. I've always thought Frank Mir was a great fighter.
Okay. The third fight, and for record, you're saying Frank Mir takes Fedor Emelianenko.
Yep, I got Frank Mir beating Fedor, but if Fedor wins, if Fedor beats Frank Mir, Fedor wins by knockout.
I'll agree with that.
He will not tap out Frank Mir.
I'll agree with that. I think it'll be a ground and pound TKO, but I agree with that. All right, Rob, the third fight.
TKO and KO, they end up the same,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Third fight in the Bellator heavyweight bracket. Matt Mitrione versus Roy Big Country Nelson. Nelson comes into this fight the heaviest man on the bracket, having to cut weight to 265. Matt Mitrione put Fedor Emelianenko out in their last fight. He was thinking that he was going to be the number one contender for the title, and now a Grand Prix was announced. How do you see this one going?
Well, this is an interesting one because Roy is a big dude, but Sam Gabbett was a big dude too. At the same time, Roy is also a legit BJJ black belt.
Yep.
He's got good boxing. I wouldn't say he has good kickboxing at all.
No.
So, he lost to Derek Lewis. Derek's a pretty big dude.
Yeah.
Volkov, I'll give him that because Yeah, that reminds me of one of the guys from Metal Gear. So that was a great video game. In all seriousness, though, looking at it, the competition between either of them in their last 5 hasn't really been great, but the edge definitely goes to Mitrione because he fought Fedor. He fought Ben Rothwell. He fought Travis Brown. And I think that's the only ones that were really noteworthy. He lost to Brown, but he beat Fedor. Okay, so there's a win over Fedor, a race, a loss to Brown, you know? And Brown, he took out one of my guys. Well, not my guys, but my fam and my team, just someone I like. I was like Josh Barnett. And look what he did to Barnett.
Yeah.
So, I would say Mitrione's more athletic. He's more explosive. He absorbs less punches with his head.
Mitrione, you said about him being more athletic. Here's what gets me about Roy Nelson. Roy Nelson could be. You remember The Ultimate Fighter Season 10 and Dana White's like, oh, Roy Nelson looks like he hit up every buffet in Vegas?
Yeah.
Do you remember when Roy Nelson was the IFL heavyweight champion, when he beat Ben Rothwell? Because he did.
I do.
He beat Rothwell.
You know what Rothwell looked at? Okay, here's the damn legit truth, and anyone that denies this is an idiot. Any fighter that fought Roy saw a big fat dude and thought, this guy isn't a fighter. He doesn't have the body of a fighter.
Exactly.
They didn't take him serious. But then again, you get a 260-some-pound dude punching you in the head.
But
when you get him on top of you, rubbing that belly on you, tapping you out.
When Nelson and Rothwell fought 10 years ago, it was the 2007 IFL Grand Prix finals. It came down to Nelson and Rothwell in the finals. Roy Nelson wasn't a 265er. He maybe went 245, 250 at best. He looked soft, but I mean, he was a lot more athletic than he is now. And I think
more athletic relative. I mean, if you caught him walking at a brisk pace, he's more athletic than he was before he started walking. But still, realistically, you know, people that lost to him didn't take him serious. I'm willing to bet Ben Rothwell didn't take him serious. You know, he didn't look at a killer. He looked at some guy that was hungry.
Right.
You know?
Well, I think the IFL also suffered from lack of heavyweights, just like everyone is right now. I mean, because in the IFL there was Rothwell and Nelson were the two top heavyweights. We all knew it was going to come down to Rothwell and Nelson.
Well, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen here. If Roy decides, oh, I'm going to be a boxer, he's going to get his ass kicked. If he decides, do what I got to do to get Mitrione down and tap him out, that's Roy's path to victory. Roy, watch me be wrong on every one of these. Hey, I almost whiffed it on the last UFC event. And I did whiff it on, actually, I'm sorry, I'm speaking incorrectly. The UFC 217, I was 1 for 3. And on the main event of UFC Shanghai, I was wrong. I had this big beat in Kelvin. But I'm an idiot. So, back to this. Mitrione is going to be faster, more explosive, more physical, more powerful, but he's not a good grappler compared to Roy. So if Roy wins, it's grappling. If Mitrione wins, it's decision or punches in the head.
See, I don't think Mitrione's going to...
He's not tapping out Roy.
Oh, he's definitely not going to tap out Roy Nelson. But I don't think Mitrione has the striking skill to put Roy Nelson down either. And,
well, I mean, we're that thing where when you're a big dude, there's a little bit of authority that comes with size.
Roy Nelson versus Kimbo Slice. Kimbo Slice had the ground skill of Rocky Balboa, essentially. Feared striker.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah. Roy Nelson fights Kimbo Slice. Kimbo Slice has the ground skill of Rocky Balboa when he fought Ivan Drago. Kimbo Slice was, I mean...
Slice, itchy beard life.
Well, seriously, like, did you ever watch his street fighting videos? Like, he's a scary dude.
Yeah, and I watched, just another quick sidebar, and I apologize. You had Dana White talking about. Was it Sean Gannon that fought Kimbo? And Kimbo's crew was all like trying to separate it every time Sean was getting anywhere. Well, then you had Dana like, yeah, he fought Kimbo, and he spent a year in the hospital. And I'm exaggerating; it was a month or something that Dana said. I was thinking, listen to him trying to hype up this bomb.
And then Sean Gannon fights Brandon Lee Hinkle and loses.
And I love Boss Newton, but him trying to hype Kimbo to me pissed me off too.
Absolutely. But Kimbo was a dangerous striker.
I sure hope I never meet him because I'll kick my ass.
Who, Kimbo?
No, Boss Newton.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I don't think you have to worry about Kimbo.
No, I'm not afraid of Deadfoot.
But Kimbo Slice, I mean, clearly a feared striker. And Roy Nelson was able to handle business. So Matt Mitrione is not gonna outstrike him. I mean, at least to point to make it dangerous, unless he's really lucky. And he's not gonna beat him on the ground.
Wasn't an explosive athlete like Matt was. I mean, listen, I get it. Matt's not shredded or anything. Kimbo absolutely was jacked.
Yeah.
But there's just something. Some of those football players have something, man. I mean, they have that ability to launch and bring up the team. Now, granted, I'm not saying it makes them champion. I'm not saying it's a free pass, but I certainly think he has enough power to put down human beings.
Right. So who do you got?
Well, I'm going to pick Mitrione.
I'm going to agree with you on that one.
What's that?
I'm going to agree with you. I think it's going to be a decision, but I'm going to give it to Mitrione. I think he's got momentum in his corner. That win over Fedor is going to do big things for his esteem, his ego, his confidence. I got Matt Mitrione winning by decision.
Well, what about Ryan Bader and King Mo?
Oh, Lord.
If you pick Mo, you're wrong again.
Well, here's the thing. I don't agree with Ryan Bader being included in the tournament. And I'll tell you why. Conor McGregor...
Heavyweight?
Well, I mean, aside from that, I mean, that ship sailed long ago. Conor McGregor, and you know how I feel about him. He's won how many titles compared to how many he has defended?
Can you repeat that for me, please?
Conor McGregor wins, 4 titles, and has yet to defend a single one of them.
Yeah, how about it?
And what McGregor's done is he has left 3 different weight classes in the lurch because he wants to fight for another title. He wants to box. He wants the super fights. Completely screwed.
He wants paid. He doesn't give a shit about titles. He cares about money.
Well, then make the money fights the number 1 contender fights because, I mean, he completely screwed up featherweight. Featherweight still hasn't recovered from all that bullshit. Lightweight...
Okay, Conor didn't screw it up. Conor took an opportunity to capitalize. I'll tell you what happened. Dana White screwed it up. You want to leave the division and you're not going to defend that belt within a reasonable amount of time?
You strip it.
You're out.
Yeah.
Done. Next guy. So it's not Conor's fault. It's Dana's damn fault.
No, I'll tell you what makes it Conor's fault. Whenever you go to Twitter and you say things like, I'm retiring, thanks for the cheese, I'm not getting my way. That's what made it Conor's fault. Using those...
You can't blame him at work.
Yeah, but now what kind of precedent does that send for everyone else who's trying to negotiate a title fight?
Oh, it screws it all up. He threw a temper tantrum. He got his way. He got paid.
Exactly.
He screwed up the vision. And the company bowed to him.
Exactly.
You know? He was right place, right time. He happened to be what they needed. You know, Ireland needed their champ. And, you know, the Irish are very, 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 what's a word? I just had a complete brain fart. They're very loyal fans to their people. And, you know, you got a guy that's bringing them a lot of notoriety. He's making them money. So,
okay.
Unfortunately, in the UFC Conor McGregor relationship, he wears the pants for now. However, if the UFC got his head out of its behind, they could craft another star and replace him. But let's get back to
Demetrius Johnson. Just saying.
Demetrius Johnson. If anyone doesn't think he's pound for pound, they're an idiot too.
Yeah.
You know?
So my point of that tangent was Ryan Bader is the current Bellator 205 champion. Until he can no longer defend that title or loses to someone who takes that title from him, I think he should be completely forgotten about the heavyweight picture. It should be Phil Davis in the tournament instead of Ryan Bader. Davis has a better heavyweight build. He doesn't. I mean, Bellator only gains by having Phil Davis compete.
I don't know what they're thinking in there, to be honest with you, but as far as the matchup goes, I got Ryan Bader beating King Mo. He's just better.
Bader has added the interesting aspect to his repertoire, and that is the ability to finish fights in pretty big fashion.
Yeah.
I mean, stopping Phil Davis. I don't know. Did he stop Phil Davis?
Decision, I believe.
Okay.
I believe. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But okay, you look at, and again, MMA match being what it is,
right.
blah blah blah. But King Mo, he beat Rampage. Okay, that's great. Rampage is 800 years old, and if you watch the fight, it's sloppy. He lost to Crow Cop, but I mean, most people, get kicked in the head and they tend to lose fights. He fought Aishi. Again, we already discussed him. He's just kind of there to be there. You got Phil Davis. Oh, wait, he lost to Phil Davis. And then, you got Jerry. Who's Jerry? Is that Siri's cousin?
I think it's Siri's cousin, yes.
Okay, so there you go. All right. Now you got Bader. His lone loss is Anthony Johnson. And for Christ's sake, Anthony Johnson's like 9 different weight classes.
Yeah.
He hits like a car. No, a bus. I don't know. Something. He hits like a 2-ton heavy thing. And, okay, so you lose to him. But you beat Ilir Latifi, who we know is like...
Ilir Latifi, he's pretty much he's a heavyweight. I mean, you cannot tell me different. When Ilir Latifi walked into the cage against Chris Dempsey is a light heavyweight middleweight without trying. Latifi looked twice his size, so you can't tell me he's not a heavyweight.
The thing too, Dempsey's not a little guy.
No, he's not.
Dempsey's the kind of guy who can get me in a headlock and probably pop the head like a pimple.
Absolutely.
So for him to, hey, you're supposed to pick me in the fight, not him. I mean,
it's Chris Dempsey,
openly, dude. But bet the money on him. If you're betting, you put the money on him, not me. But anyway, I stood beside Chris, and then just to see it like on the TV, the size difference. It's like, holy shit, are they in the same division?
Exactly.
Was the scale wrong? So, but you got, okay, so Bader beats him. He beats Long. He beats Phil Davis. And then Clinton Vassell. Okay? You look at the records. They're almost identical. 1 more loss for Law, but 3 more fights for Bader on the win side. So yeah. I don't know. I think your boy King Mo is going down.
Ryan Bader made a real interesting comment once. He says that he believes that he is in the top 3 light heavyweights in the world. Do you agree with that?
Well, I mean, put it to you this way. If you're a prize fighter, you go out there and go, I might be good. I don't know. I sure don't know. Or you go out there thinking, I'm the best, and I'm going to knock your head off. I'm going to rip your arm off.
Oh, you tell everyone that you're
going to do to put you down.
You tell everyone that you're the baddest MFer on the planet. Period. I mean, that's just Mike Tyson.
You have to. Yeah, and you have to believe any hyperbole. If you put me in there with, well, we're going to go way back since we're talking, old school. If you took me in my judo prime, you put me against Masahiko Kimura in his judo prime. Now remember, Masahiko Kimura was a guy that was not taken off of his feet in over 10 years. Everyone that was the best of the best in Japan tried. No one could take him off his feet. If you put me against him, I would have to tell myself and tell you that I'm going to win. Even if I knew, which I would definitely lose. That'd be bad. Even if I knew that I was going to lose. You have to put it out there. So even if you don't think you're the top 3 guy in the world, you got to tell people you are. So we don't even have to agree or disagree with the statement. You're just going to analyze it for what it is.
Check.
When you're a prize fighter, you got to be the best. And sometimes that means opening your big mouth, saying things so you can get that money fight.
Well, here's the thing, though. Ryan Bader didn't say that as a confidence thing. Like, he really believed that. And that was what impressed me the most. Is like, he's talking just like, hey, there are 8 planets. 2 + 2 = 4. The sky is blue, grass is green, and I'm a top 3 light heavyweight. Like, there was no cockiness whatsoever.
That if you feel like you are.
It was great. I mean, it was absolutely great. But
I'll tell you what the mistake in his analyzation was. He didn't say he was the best. He screwed up. You don't count yourself out and saying I'm the top 3. No. Take out 2. Take out 1. Even back.
There you go.
Say it all and believe it all.
I mean,
but then again, maybe he's critically evaluating his performances and thinking, hey, I fight a few more people, maybe I will say I'm the best.
I think of all the light heavyweights in the tournament, including Jackson, including Sonnen, I think Ryan and Lawal, I think Ryan Bader has the best opportunity of the light heavyweights to compete at a heavyweight level. He's big.
So let's play devil's advocate.
Okay.
So, speaking of Boss Root, he's on CBS right now. He's in some car.
Nice.
So he's with that Leah Rudney, the Scientologist chick. Anyway, sorry about that. I know he's in a car looking for me since I was running my mouth. So let's just pretend Bader, he takes out King Mo. Chael takes out Quinty. Matt takes out Roy. And Frank Mir takes out Fedor. Wow, that even sounds messed up saying it.
Yeah.
So, what fight happens next?
Well, that's kind of up in the air because, I mean, it's not a traditional bracket-style tournament that I've seen. I mean, there was no seeding that I saw. I could be wrong.
So, okay. Ryan Bader versus Frank Mir. How's that fight go?
Bader. No, I kid you not. I think Ryan Bader beats Frank Mir.
How? How's he beat him?
Well, he's either going to get the decision, because I think if anyone can compete in Frank Mir's guard and on the ground with him, I think Ryan Bader has got the spring in his legs and the wrestling ability. Ryan Bader also has the opportunity to put fists on his chin. His hands are rated E for everyone, if you get what I'm saying.
Okay, so what about Matt Mitrione, Frank Mir?
Mitrione.
Okay, what about Chael Sonnen and Frank Mir?
Frank Mir.
Okay, if you would have said Chael Sonnen, then I know you're just a player.
No, I don't think Chael Sonnen has a snowflake's chance in hell in this tournament. Is what I'm trying to get at.
Well,
I mean,
what it sounds like is you don't think Frank Mir has a chance in this.
Has he been a quality heavyweight in, say, even the last 3 years? Has Frank Mir been in contendership position?
You can't do MMA math, though. We already proved that.
It's not even MMA math. I mean, has Frank Mir been competing at a world-class heavyweight level?
No, but I'm going to tell you this. I bet you that he ends up in the top 8.
I will agree that Frank Mir ends up in the top 8. I'll give you that. Do I see him in the top 4 or even the finals? No, absolutely not.
Well, you're a mean person.
I think I would like to see Roy Nelson and Fedor Emelianenko meet somewhere in the bracket. I think that'd be interesting to see.
I think Fedor would clean Roy Nelson's claw.
See, I disagree with you again. I don't.
I think Fedor punches Roy Nelson's beard off his head.
Let's say that Fedor is able to stop Roy Nelson. I think it happens really late in the third, if it gets there. I don't see Roy stopping him, but I think definitely eking out a decision.
All right. So I don't know if recreational drugs are legal where you're at, but I want you to repeat the sentence you just said to yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror. Look yourself in the eye, and say to yourself, I see Roy Nelson beating Fedor Emelianenko. I
didn't say that. Well, yeah, I did. I did say that. But Fedor has not done well against North American heavyweights because all those wins in his column have been overseas. When he fought Fabio Maldonado, when he fought Satoshi Ishii, those were all.
He's crushed some cans. They all have.
Dude, he's crushed more cans than a Pepsi factory.
That's all right. You know?
No, you can't count that towards his quality of opponents. Over here, I mean, Dan Henderson is in the same boat as Chael Sonnen. Dan Henderson is that same middleweight, light heavyweight.
You're gobbling on Rampage, and he's crushed some can.
The only hope I get for Rampage is beating Sonnen. That's the
I
only.
don't think Sonnen's not a can crusher.
Sonnen's not a can crusher. He's not allowed to practice real estate in the state of Oregon.
He's not allowed to sell real estate there. He lost his license for bad stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's the only hope I give Chael Sonnen. I think he has a better chance of getting his license back than winning this tournament.
Oh, you know what? I bet he could get his license back, in the real estate commission out there.
So
I heard a real estate story in our state, and interesting segue. Dude took multiple checks from a closing, and he cashed them. He didn't give them to the broker the cash. He just cashed them. And then that broker, what do I do? Well, I got to turn the guy in. Turns the guy in. The state suspended his license for a year or two.
Are you
And
serious?
now the guy, yeah. And then the dude's a broker in another area now.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
jeez.
so, now there was a guy from Johnstown. This is an interesting segue. I think it was Johnstown. You can Google this. Maybe put a link, because he just looked like the kind of guy that would do what he did. But he, did some tax evasion stuff, like $500,000 unreported income. He lost his license, and his wife voluntarily suspended her license.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the only reason I'm allowed to say that is because it was in the paper. It's not me bashing on someone. But anyway, back to this.
Who do you see winning the tournament, Rob?
Who do you got winning it all?
Who do I have winning it all?
Yeah.
I think it's going to come down to Bader, Mitrione, or Emelianenko. Those are the three names I got.
You can't pick half the damn field.
I didn't pick half the damn field. I picked two viable options depending on how the bracket plays out.
Oh, I thought you picked three. It sounds like you're in a fishbowl.
No, what I'm saying is it's either Bader or Mitrione, and if the bracket goes the other way, it's going to be Bader and Fedor.
Oh, okay. So I did hear three names.
Yeah.
So you are picking half the field.
I'm playing speculation. How about that?
Oh man, no, one guy win it all. Only one.
Ryan Bader. I want to say Matt Mitrione, but I think it comes down to Bader.
I'm gonna pick the dark horse, Chael Sonnen.
You know, Rob, I almost want to bet you money on that.
I'm picking the dark horse.
You're picking the dark horse?
No, because I don't think he stands a snowball's chance in hell against Frank after Frank wins his fight. So
I don't think Frank wins his fight.
And Frank doesn't have a chance to win it all. So I got Bader beating King Mo. I got Mitrione beating oh shit, I hate to say it. It's gonna be Bader, or it's not gonna be Frank Mir, even though I got him beaten. Man. Well, I guess that's what we're going to tune in and find out.
Yep, absolutely.
Bader has the statistically best chance to win. I'm taking the cop out.
You said Bader has the best chance to win?
Yeah, overall, once you evaluate all the options versus all of the opponents, when you look at how they stack up. Okay, here's the thing. It's just not this dude's going to kick this dude's ass.
No.
It's this dude's going to kick this dude's ass because he make it out uninjured, and then wins his next fight, and then he's fighting this dude, so it's not can one guy beat one, it's can one guy beat seven.
Well, it also comes down to, do alternates get involved? I mean, Shane Carwin put his name in as he wants to be an alternate. So say Matt Mitrione wins, but he's too injured to compete in the next round. I mean, does that change everything that we're talking about right now?
Well, if I had to pick, though, I'm just telling you this. I want him to win, but Chael ain't winning the whole thing.
I think Matt Lindland would have a better chance of winning the whole thing than Chael Sonnen.
What's that again?
I think Matt Lindland, the law, would have a better chance of winning than Chael Sonnen.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, we're gonna
a guy though, because if there's a guy that believes he can win, it's Chael.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, the man, you cannot beat the man's confidence. Absolutely. He thought he was going to beat Anderson Silva whenever they fought. He was convinced of it.
The first time he fought Anderson, he was what? Hey, granted, I get it. You're winning until you lose. I could be winning the first 4 seconds until a pro fighter kicked my head off, but I still lost. But he was winning that first fight. Second fight, who the hell goes in back pit and falls down and gets their heart beat out of their chest cavity?
Crazy times, my friend. Crazy times. And Rob, before I let you go,
some more money. Here, you can take this to the bank. I bet you Chael Sonnen does not throw a spinning back fist against Quentin Jackson.
I really think that Quentin Jackson's going to introduce his knuckles to the inside of the back of Chael's head is what's going to happen.
I don't think you're right.
I firmly believe that you're wrong.
Well, you're allowed to be wrong.
Absolutely. All right, Rob.
Not your right as an American.
There we go. Rob Lynn, thank you very much for joining us on the Prizefight Podcast this week. Hopefully you come back next week if you're not doing anything. Had a lot of fun talking to you, brother, and we'll see everyone when we see him. And Rob, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'll be looking for that PayPal money in my account. I have to buy some Pokemon Go rounds, and I need that paper.
I was going to pay you in Bitcoin.
Oh, dude, if you have Bitcoin, I'll be on the. If you're selling me Bitcoin, I'll be on the podcast every week.
Oh, I'll see what I can do about that, Rob. Thanks a lot, buddy. I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. You take it easy.
Thank you for tuning in to the Cage Nation Prize Fight Podcast. All rights reserved. 2016 to 2017 Planet Aries Sports. The Prize Fight Podcast is part of the Cage Nation Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.cagenationtv.com.